Good afternoon, 1:30, got a quorum. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Next item on the agenda is to receive the minutes. Did everybody look at them? Do we have a motion?
Motion to receive the January 4th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes when you can. All right, received. Cindy, next item, please.
We have our continuous request. We have item number 20, case number 15490 has been deferred till February 1.
Okay. Are there any applicants, anyone in the audience that needs to request continuance or deferral? Okay. Guess we're ready for a motion on that one.
Motion to continue case number 15490 to the February 1st, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Cast your votes. If you were here on item 20, you're welcome to stay, but that one's been deferred. No consent dockets. Cindy, if you want to call the first one, please.
We have item number 1, case number 15517, a request of Willie Haskins Jr. for a variance to fence regulations in the R1 Single Family and Wild Oaks Urban Conservation District located at 5127 Burr Oaks Place.
Willie? Come on up. Okay. Give us your name and address and tell us about your application, please.
Willie Haskins, Oklahoma City.
Okay, tell us about your application.
Trying to get a fence, height to it to 6 foot for other houses that are just the same length, as well as I have Dobermans and they jump over 4 foot, and so that plus the other houses that are very similar with 6 foot fees, homes, I would like to have it approved.
Any questions or comments from the board? I don't have anybody signed up to speak on this one. Anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay. Question? Yeah, I guess we're ready for a motion then.
Motion to approve case number 15517 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested variance.
Second.
Motion and a second. Cast your votes. You're approved.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, too.
Thank you.
Item number 2, case number 15509, request of Village OKC Holdings for a variance to building facade regulations and parking lot landscape requirements in the C4 district and the Northeast Gateway Urban Conservation District located at 2701 East I-44 Service Road.
Good afternoon. I'm Luke Dolachek, representing Village Travel Holdings, OKC Holdings, and that address is 3021 Northeast 50th. We are here today to seek approval for building facade acceptance from a protective overlay. The C4 zone allows metal panel, but the protective overlay does not allow the metal panel on the street front property. We have multiple facades on this and are seeking the high-end metal panel, and we have building elevations and supporting documents on that. The other piece is a landscape variance due to the amount of parking and paving we have to have on this site. We're meeting all the landscape requirements with the exception of the north property line. We are short 5 trees that by the landscape requirement that need to be spaced 75 feet apart. There's an existing tree row on that north property line, and there are some other site limitations, so seeking approval for that.
Any questions or comments from the board? And I don't have anybody signed up to speak on this one. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
Motion to approve case number 15509 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested variance.
Second.
A motion and a second. Cast your vote. Okay, you're approved.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry, wait.
We have item number 3, case number 15512, a request of Caitlin Turner of Williams Box Forshey and Bullard on behalf of LSJ Properties for a variance to conditions set forth to establish the use of automotive and equipment cleaning and repairs, light equipment in the C3 Community Commercial District located at 4301 Northwest 50th Street.
Sadly, not Caitlin Turner, David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. The applicant here is at 50th in Vermont. They have operated at this location since sometime in the 1960s. It has been a automobile service station since that time. What we're seeking is a variance to allow what has been going on since 1963 to remain. Strict interpretation of the code would require us to fence and screen the parking area. Because of the way that the building is oriented, that would mean screening and fencing off our access point off of 50th Street. The other variance that we seek is there is in the code a 10-day limit for cars to remain on site. As I'm sure everyone is aware, it's hard to get parts for anything in this world, especially automobiles. So there are occasions when a car will be on site longer than that 10-day period that exists within the code. Again, consistent with the historic operation on the site. So that is the nature of our variance request. We're happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments from the board? I don't have anybody signed up on this one. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay.
In going by the property, there was some cars parked in the retail parking lot behind the,
To the north,
to the north. There was a car that was, multiple cars actually, and I believe they were part of this. And also just the sheer number of cars that were in the front. And I think in reading there that most of the repairs are quicker repairs, some oil changes and stuff like that, but then others were long-term stuff. And to me, I just think that there need to be a place on the property that they could keep the long-terms out of the site from the front. Don't know if it's possible, but a little bit of property on the south or the northeast corner.
yeah, it's a small site. I mean, from a logistics standpoint, it has some challenges. Our belief is they have an agreement with the folks that own that sea of parking to the north, and that's why they're stored there. I'm happy to have my client work towards some solution by which they landscape or screen, but it would need to be through an agreement with that property owner to the north because they don't own that. I don't think on site we have adequate space to do what you're talking about. But I'm happy to try to get my client to work with the property owner to the north.
Regarding the timeline, as far as the vehicles being placed there, if 10 days is not sufficient, is there an amount of days that does work?
Yeah, which I could tell you that. It all depends on when parts are able and are shipped is the problem. Like everything else since COVID, supply chains are completely disrupted, and so we can't predict that.
I think that the issue that I'm having would be, you know, not having any type of screening and then kind of having it being open-ended. I'd really like to see something in terms of like what the time, I mean, there has to be some idea as far as even the average over the last 12 months, how long are the cars staying there?
I don't know. We could always take a continuance, and my client's not here, and see what, because I don't want to give a number and then not be able to meet it and then face, you know, code inspection problems. So we're happy to maybe take a deferral, try to come up with a reasonable number based upon historically what he's seen over the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, I would like that, just because, and I'm not saying your client would do this, but it does leave the possibility of having a site
Sure.
become quite unsightly for an indefinite amount of time.
In terms of the next, how about March 7th? That's the next time I can be here.
That's fine. That would make me feel better about it too.
Okay?
Timeline on how long those cars were parked or stationary.
And with that being in March, I mean, do you think that it's possible that your client could also talk with the other owners to see if they can rent out some space, or, you know, what kind of fencing can we have so that the cars themselves aren't an eyesore?
Yeah,
They're just
we can
sitting
certainly
there.
try. Like I said, this individual's been operating since the 60s in this same capacity, so he was a bit surprised that what he was doing was not proper, considering he's the longest standing operator in this general vicinity. But we can certainly ask that question too.
Anything else from the board? Okay. I think we're ready for a motion.
Motion to defer case number 15512 to the March 7th BOA meeting.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. You're deferred.
Thank you.
Item number 4, case number 15513, a request of Jessica Beebe for a variance to standards for minimum height and maximum setback from street right-of-way in the DTD 1 downtown, located at 1135 North Hudson Avenue.
Hi, I'm Jessica Beebe. Project is 1135 North Hudson Avenue, seeking variance on 2 items under the Downtown Designers District's bulk standard. One is the minimum height requirement, and the second is the front and side yard requirement. First, on the minimum height, we're seeking a variance to do a small portion of the street right-of-way frontage to be a 1-story portion of the building. And this portion kind of contains our back of house and utility yard. And we felt it was a higher design to include that space within the perimeter of the building and within design. And the second is to have more than 10 feet of a side yard setback from the curb. And this stems from the unique condition we have on our site where the property line has been extended to the curb because of a closed easement that's been approved. So the south portion of that building on Park Place is set back 10 feet 4 inches, and then at most about 18 or so there.
Any questions from the board? I don't have anybody signed up on this one. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
Motion to approve case number 15513 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested variance.
Second.
Motion and a second, cast your votes. Approved.
We have item number 5, case number 15514, an application for a special exception of Carissa Frank to allow home sharing located at 4401 St. Greg.
I have a package prepared for y'all if you need to look at it. Can I bring it to you or do I bring it to you?
Let's have it.
This is for, my name's McKenna Bento. I'm here on regards of Carissa Frank for 4401 St. Gregory Drive regarding home sharing. There has been a protest for home sharing. The neighbor, I believe, to the left, I believe it's the south, has protested for no home sharing, but in the package, I have provided proof of contesting against what she has implied, and we believe that, you know, we have support from the community, and
Okay, I'll look at it real quick.
the everybody else in the community has supported what we're going after. Yeah, that's our house.
Yeah, that can go on now. Oh, thank you. All right, does anybody on the board have questions or comments? Okay, give us a minute to read the packet.
That's okay.
While they're looking at the packet, there's nobody signed up on this one. Does anybody want to address okay, give us a second. Give us a minute to finish reading the materials we were just handed, and I'll recognize you.
This was in the packet.
Kitty, did you get a chance to look at the new materials? You did, okay. Has everybody had a chance? Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, your turn. Give us your name and address.
Yes, good day. Chuck Lundeen and Lori Amaker. We're the adjacent residents to
Okay.
the home in question.
Okay, go ahead, tell us about your protest.
Well, I guess it just starts. Our packet was submitted. You've seen what we've submitted. Okay.
Yeah, your letter's in the packet.
Yeah,
Or
I didn't know.
email.
I see all this up here on the screen, so I didn't know if you had or not. I thought maybe that's what you were reading there. But what we know is what we've witnessed in the past. The past owner ran this home as a VRBO, Airbnb, short-term rental, and I think our comments along the way that have been described, that this is a family neighborhood. I know VRBs are out there and Airbnbs are out there, but this is not a commercial business park. It's a neighborhood, and we are subjected, being the adjacent neighbors, to new faces every day, cars, trucks, trailers. We don't know who's coming and going, and that's not the intent of a neighborhood. And probably the most alarming, there's families, there's children in the neighborhood, and one of the many times of parking concerns, one of the other neighbors actually went to the front door of the home to ask them politely to move their cars out of the way of people's driveways. And the young ladies that answered the door let him know that they were filming videos and actually invited him in. So I wasn't there, but that's the story, and you could tell it by cars and the traffic coming and going from this residential home. And so we have to live there every day and hear what's going on in the front yard, here in the backyard, be subjected to people that don't have ownership in this property. The owner doesn't live there. It's, for all practical purposes, as we all know, a hotel. It's become a hotel. Interesting enough, we received an email from the prior owner, who, in my understanding, isn't the current owner, but a very malicious, slanderous email about today and about our opposition. We're here because we received the letter from the city saying, come tell us your story. we didn't realize that was going to bring an outsider in to send us a slanderous, malicious email. And we're not sure if this is public record, why the email was there from a business card with the submission of the documents, but how it got back to this person to even know about that, because the individual is not the current owner anymore. I know it's not appropriate to receive such an email, but we have kids. There's plenty of other kids in the neighborhood. There's cars coming and going at all hours. Some of the people may be wonderful, but we've witnessed a lot that aren't, and it's a real concern for us. Property values, who's coming and going into the neighborhoods with these certain groups. We don't know what all comes with that makeup of a person, and we do have great concern. So that's why we're here today, to make that very clear that probably everybody in the room, except for me, has used an Airbnb before. On the surface, it might be a convenient way to find a place to lay your head down at night. But behind the scenes of it, it's a home, it's a neighborhood with families, and it's not a business. And we just think that is inappropriate and wrong, and we oppose it.
Board have any questions, comments for the protester? Lori, did you want to address?
Well, I wrote the original, wrote the letter of opposition. And so, I think that pretty much sums it up. I've been there for 10 years, and me personally, and this is just, I just feel like it's a violation of my privacy and my security, to have constant influx of strangers coming and going, large vehicles. That I only submitted a couple. There have been many, many more over the years, and the violation, the infringement on my property. And so I'd like it to be considered.
And I'd add, just even a small thing, each week we all pull our big blues and recycles out. The city has code of when they can come out and when they need to be put up. Because there's not an owner on property, it's almost a weekly event that those trash cans can set out there for multiple days. We had seen at some point that there had been an arrangement with another neighbor to take those cans back and forth so that wouldn't happen, but more often than not, they're left out. I just pulled them back last week, personally myself, up to the garage door because they were out at the curb. And I think that was a Wednesday or Thursday, and our trash pickup is Tuesday morning. And I'm pretty sure that the requirement to put those back is Tuesday evening. So that's just a small piece, but that's ongoing. It never ends. We're there 24/7, 365 days of the year with new people coming and going, and we don't know who they are. And the emphasis when this one group that was filming videos, when we saw that rampant for a long period of time, that's when the radars really went up, other than just the concern of vehicles and strangers. Now we saw a different bit of traffic that was very concerning. So thank you very much for your time.
You want to respond?
Well, y'all have everything in the packet. The email that they're referring to was from the ROM Villaflor in there, the malicious email that they are referring to. That was, after all of the support that we received from the rest of the community. So I am a horse trainer for these people that have purchased the property, and ever since she lives in Seattle, Carissa does, and ever since she's been coming to Oklahoma to visit us, she has rented this Airbnb, and the last time she asked to rent it, Rom let her know that he was going to put it up for sale, and she decided to buy it because she loves the home so much, and she eventually would like to move here and move into the home. But right now, her son, he has half a brain, and he had a stroke at birth. He's going to be 11 years old next month. And right now she has to stay close to Seattle Children's Hospital. So once he is able to live mostly without medical care, she will eventually move here, but they don't want the house to sit empty. My husband and I, we can't move up here. We have horses. And it has already been an Airbnb and a Vrbo for so long. We thought, why not continue going on with it until Carissa is able to move here. So once we, received all of the support from the community, and then one person was not supportive, we did reach out to the previous owner because we were concerned why. And I wasn't aware that he sent an email, but I guess he did. And the boy across the street, he does bring the trash cans back and forth from the street to the house every week. We do have cameras set up as well all around the house, so I could get video proof of him doing so. I don't have any right now, but I definitely could get some. And yeah, I mean, one thing happening in all the years that it's been an Airbnb, I mean, we can't control what outside people do, and unfortunately, something like that were to happen and out of our control, it has never happened again. And those people were through the Airbnb or Vrbo, wherever they booked through, they were taken care of. They were notified of, not to let these people, book again. It was handled correctly. So, yeah, we bring people in from all over the place. There's been people that have visited from all over the United States to visit Oklahoma City, and I think that's pretty cool that people want to come here and visit us. So that is all.
Anything from the board?
I do have a question because how long have you owned this property?
Carissa Frank has owned it since November of 2023. She closed on it in November of 2023, the week after Thanksgiving. I believe it was the 27th.
November of 2023, and this is January of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're talking about things that happened prior to the 4-month time frame in between?
Yes, ma'am.
So this property has been used previously as an Airbnb?
Yes, ma'am. I believe longer than 5 years. I believe. I'm not sure of the exact timeline, but I know for a fact it's been longer than 5 years because Carissa has come to visit us, and she does stay in this home, used as an Airbnb when she comes to visit us here in Oklahoma, and it has been at least 5 years, going on 6 years.
So it was operating without a license?
No.
This says this is a new application.
Yeah, because she has to have a new application as the new homeowner. The previous homeowner had a license.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
but we haven't rented it out since.
Since you acquired.
Correct. I have stayed there because I'm not renting it, but nobody has been in and out since.
November?
Correct.
Thank you.
That's not true.
May I add? The picture of the RV sitting out front, that's been since November. The trucks, that picture, the trucks were previous owner renting. I'd like to add that she mentions the support of the community. She does not have full support of the committee, because of the community, because several other neighbors who apparently did not speak on this and take the time to do an opposition feel the same way, but didn't take the time to oppose it. So just that should be noted as well.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Questions, comments?
What's the plan for, I guess, responding to anything that may occur while someone's in the home? When you do not live in the Oklahoma City area?
I live in Wynnewood.
Okay.
So can you elaborate on a plan if something happens, like?
As far as
such?
cleanup?
I'm
Someone checks out, who's going to come back through and do the cleaning service?
We do have a cleaning service that comes in and out. They're all set up from the previous owner. He gave us everything to take care of the property, all of his contacts, and everything just shifted over really smoothly. After every visit, I will come up and take care of things if things need restocked, or anything needs taken care of. Decorations being put up and put away. I just did that today, actually. I do make visits at least once every 3 weeks or so to just check on everything, make sure everything's okay in the house. Summer and Art, who live across the street from the house, they have access to the house as well, because they want to help to make sure that the house is okay. With the freeze happening, they went over to make sure that the water was dripping and the cabinet doors stayed open so the pipes didn't freeze. And their son is the one who goes back and forth with the trash cans every week. So, I mean, like I said, I will be the one that comes up and takes care of things for Carissa on her behalf.
I just want to clarify, so you guys have not leased the property, I think you mentioned, since you've owned it, but some of these events have happened since you've owned it? Or some of the complaints that they've,
The complaints have happened since owning, correct?
so,
But it's not been rented out. There
so,
was one that had to be grandfathered in underneath of Rom because it was already already booked through him. So it wasn't through us.
so there was one stay that occurred on this property after
Correct.
you became the owner? but
Correct.
They were
And
previously booked.
because it was grandfathered in through, I would have to ask Carissa about exactly how it got grandfathered in, but it did.
No, was that stay connected to any of these incidents that they've brought up?
I don't believe so, no.
Because what I'm having trouble with is, I don't want to hold you responsible or hold Carissa responsible for management of the property before you owned it. That being said, it looks like some of the things that they have an issue with took place after you guys acquired the property, and that is concerning. There's a lot going on here, and we can't regulate what somebody does inside of their home.
Correct.
However, when those activities spill outside of the home, or even if a neighbor goes to approach and say, hey, you guys are making noise, or you're blocking parking, it's not an appropriate response to say, come in and join us.
No.
That's not professional at all.
No.
And it doesn't sound like there's anybody that can actively manage this property here. I get the circumstances with her having to be near her son. So my big concern is reiterating what Roberto said. I'm concerned on who's going to actively manage this property. I don't think it's sufficient to have somebody pull the trash cans up and you guys come check on it, every few weeks when you can. Are you guys opposed to getting a property manager?
No, I mean, I'm sure she'd be open to getting a property manager if that is something that was required, for sure.
And then what is the plan moving forward on the parking? Because it does look, I mean, I see trailers in the photos. Are these you guys, do these trailers belong to you all when you're coming to check on the property?
No, I don't know when that picture was taken. That wasn't any time it was before Carissa purchased the property. But those vehicles also were not blocking anybody. It was in front of the darker colored Ford is actually in front of our house, and then the one that's pulled into is in the driveway of our house. And I know that Rom had informed us of this incident. The guys that were working, they had got there really late at night and went in, and because they were coming from somewhere, they went to park their trailers before they went to the house, and the place that they had to park the trailers at were closed, and they couldn't get into the place, so they had no other option than to go to the house with trailers. But that was the only time that they had the trailers there. So after that, I know that they did park the trailers elsewhere. And we do have a welcome package when people, before people check in, they have a package that shows up when they book the property, saying like, these are the rules of the community, these are the laws, you can park here, you can do this and you can't do that. Everybody that rents the house out is aware of the laws and the rules of the community.
If I could follow, this is so new to us, but I do have a concern of such first name basis because this Rom was the previous owner and he is the one that sent this email, and that's a real issue for me, trailers not being able to be left at the lot, so therefore they're brought into the neighborhood because they have no other choice. That's what we're talking about. That's the problem. The OnlyFans group that was coming through for such a period of time, the only reason that was shut down because Lori brought it to Rom's attention. So by us being concerned citizens, he didn't know what was going on, or if he did, he looked the other way, I'd say. But he did. They had a very cordial meeting, and that seemed to have stopped, that part. But whether the people are this or that, or good or bad or kind, it's still a family neighborhood. And we're dealing with a residential park, a commercial business park right next door. The pictures that were submitted, obviously, we don't run around with our cameras all the time. There could be so many more, and any video footage would be very interesting if it's not edited. But the picture of the RV has been since November 27th. Whether they were renters or friends staying overnight, there have been guests in the home since November 27th.
Anything else from the board?
I guess here's where I'm at. Carissa's a brand new homeowner, first time application. I don't have a history to go off of to deny her application, but what we can do is impose certain guidelines and requirements in order to approve this special exception. And so with that said, we'd like to hear from neighbors as to what their concerns are based off past history. Going to your application, since you're here representing Carissa, looking it over and just based off past history, brand new applications are 1 year. So that's an automatic modification to the application. There's no quiet hours listed. Quiet hours are going to be from 10 to 8. We have 4-car maximum in this situation, no on-street parking. We haven't made this requirement before, but seeing how she's in Seattle, a lot of times when we get people coming in here, they're either here because they live in the area or they have a property manager that's coming on their behalf. I'm actually going to make that requirement. I'm not sure what the board feels like, but I do feel like give her 30 days to seek out and find somebody, because there are people that come before us that represent many owners, and I think that would be prudent for her to kind of know what's going on in her home through that property manager, so that you don't get a situations like OnlyFans and the only reason the homeowner knows about it is because of you guys, right? So good job on you guys reporting it to them, but we are here because our city ordinance allows for this to happen within residential areas. Fully understand. I had an application come before me last year or the year before. There's a home in my neighborhood that came, and based off of what I was provided and the guidelines that I have before me, there was no reason to deny that. And so that's kind of where I stand, and I would like to hear from the other board members as to any modifications that I've proposed, especially the property manager one.
I'd throw in, from our side, I feel like there's kind of a personal thing because of the email, and that concerns me. So anytime we have to speak up again about multiple cars or inappropriate behavior, what's coming our way next? That's not right. I have a copy of the email. It's not right. Mrs. Frank could be an angel for all I know, and that's wonderful. But the process of turning this home into a business for profit is our objection, because it brings all kinds of traffic.
And again, as Roberta said, that has to do with the ordinance and city council, and that's that fight. So McKenna, you're comfortable with making that adjustment to the application that was spoken?
The property manager?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will,
Okay.
I will speak with her on that.
So-
And you said 30 days to find someone and hire
Yeah.
someone?
I feel like 30 days is pretty reasonable to find somebody out there.
And then a 4-car maximum with only driveway parking or the garage, so no on-street parking.
Okay.
And again, this goes towards the neighbors, right? It gives them something to feel at least comfortable with.
I do have a little bit concern as well, because she doesn't live here in Oklahoma,
The
And
property owner?
The property
Correct. She
owner
lives
doesn't live here in
lives in
Oklahoma.
Seattle.
And because we're talking about acquiring someone to take care of the property, I would feel more comfortable that if we asked her to come back in 30 days, showing proof that they actually have gotten someone to manage the property, that the things that we're putting aside for you to follow is actually being performed. That's for me. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but because of their concern and because of the videos that they have provided for us to look at with the travel trailer and the pool trailer in there, and some of the complaints that they cited, for instance, recreational vehicles, commercial vehicles, tractor trailer vehicles which shouldn't be in the neighborhood. I want to make sure that we're also
Kitty, those, I mean, the truth is, that's not illegal.
well, I do understand that, but still and yet, if we are saying we want you to have a property manager, then we want to make sure that they do have someone in place
And that's
that
understood,
can
and that goes
monitor
back
those
to
things.
the 4-car maximum.
With the 4-car, and cars are cars, trailers are trailers. So again, that's why I'm saying I want to make sure for me. Thank you.
Can I ask, what is our recourse if this doesn't improve?
You can always call Action Center. I've got an app on my phone, I think it's called OKC Gov or something. I complain all the time. You can do it electronically off your phone. If I can figure it out, so can other people. And depending on the severity of the problem you perceive, you can call 911.
Correct. Okay.
Am I correct? It's the Action Center. What's that app? Okay.
Are you implying that you're technology challenged?
Oh, for heaven's sakes, yes.
So, to the point of commercial and recreational vehicles, I know they're allowed to some degree, but there is code ordinance on what they can be doing in a residential community. Is that a true statement? Code section 31-115 talks about commercial vehicles only being present for loading and unloading and so forth.
A trailer and a pickup truck,
But if
they
it's
can
tagged
park on
commercial,
street.
if it's tagged commercial, in fact, we don't know what to do. We're just,
Again, and
we're subject.
policing this is very important, right, in protecting your neighborhood, and we get that. What I'm saying is that if we put it in the application that there is no on-street parking, there is no on-street parking, no matter what it
We
is.
appreciate it, thank you.
So to address Kitty's concern, a month from now, it's February 22nd, sorry. After that's March 7th. So I feel like a month is enough to secure somebody to look over the home. I'm sure that she would like to start renting out the home. We can certainly do 2 weeks, but do you have a preference as to whether we come back here on the 8th of February or the 22nd of February?
Can I check my calendar? just
Yes.
really- No, the 22nd is fine.
Okay. So I'm going to defer it. Like I said, if she can get this in place, I don't see any reason why this application shall be denied, but we just want to make sure that we address the concerns of all the neighbors, and that's what we try to do every time.
Okay.
So, February 22nd is
I
what we're
don't
going
think that's our meeting date. We have the first, February 1,
to,
February
oh, the 15th, sorry. We have 5 Thursdays on February, okay. So the 15th, do you want to check that one? Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Ready for a motion?
Ready for a motion.
All right. Motion to defer case number 15514 to the February 15th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Okay, we're deferred. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have item number 6, case number 15511, is an application for Highline Properties LLC to allow home share located at 3625 Northwest 53rd Street.
Hello, my name's Cassie, and I'm here on behalf of Highline Properties for case number 15511, seeking special exception for the home sharing for the property on 1420 Northwest 32nd Street.
Cindy, one thing, the address is wrong on our, I don't know if it is with yours, but
What address did you just state?
Sorry?
What address did you just say?
1420 Northwest 32nd Street
Yeah,
in
that's-
Oklahoma City.
That's not what we have.
Okay.
We have 3625 Northwest 53rd Street.
which is item number 11. I think it's just a,
I'm not familiar with that address at
That's
all.
okay, we can make that correction.
Sorry.
It's 1420 Northwest 32.
So it's number 11?
Okay.
So case number 15511 is 1420 Northwest 32nd.
Okay.
Is there parking behind the home?
There's a huge space. It seems all the neighbors have it, and we would love to put parking behind there, but it's not there currently. That's the plan if we get the license to home share. I'd love to put a little, 3 space right behind the home, and that's what the neighbors have done as well.
So right now, how many cars can you fit in that driveway?
That driveway is really long. You could probably fit at least 4 cars.
Anything else from the board? I don't have any, oh. You start to say something? Okay, I don't have anybody signed up to speak on this one. Does anybody want to address the board on this application? Okay. Questions or comments from the board?
So I've got, just so you know, here are the modifications that I'm going to put forward. 1 year
Okay?
instead of 3, because it is a new application. I'm going to put 4-car maximum, no on-street parking, and quiet hours from 10 to 8. I think
Okay.
it's kind of what we've gone in the past. Otherwise, nothing else. Okay.
We're ready for a motion then.
All right, motion to approve case number 15511 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for special exceptions with the following modifications. Term shall be for 1 year, 4-car maximum, no on-street parking, and quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Okay, motion and a second. There you go, cast your votes. You're approved.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
15508 is a renewal application for Jeff Smith and Lynn Goldsmith to allow home sharing located at 3708 Northwest 52nd Street.
Hi, I'm Lynn Smith. I own the property at 3708 Northwest 52nd. I hope you all got the packet I sent you earlier. But about us, my husband and I started a short-term rental co-hosting company called Pro Familia Homes. And we do this to help welcome travelers to a safe and welcoming home experience when they come to Oklahoma City. And so I've spent the last 3 years becoming the best hospitality-minded host that I can. So investing hundreds of hours in learning, getting best practices, and then implementing those in our properties so we can screen out problem guests and help everyone in the neighborhood have a great experience with our rental. So in 2008, I actually lived next to this property. There it is. and did so through May of 2021. And right now, my sister lives in that house. So I have a family member next door who likes to keep an eye on the place. Plus, we know our neighbors. We've lived there for so long. They know what we're doing. They like to come and see the renovations when we remodeled this property back in 2020. So it's been a really great experience. Our home is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And out of the 7 million Airbnb homes that are listed, we are one of the few, less than 2 million, qualified as a guest favorite. So that just lets everyone know that what we say we offer in our property is what we follow through with. And we're also pet friendly with a large backyard behind the house. We implement best-in-class operations and technologies so that we can keep tabs on the property. I only live now a few miles away, but we've invested in messaging service that's available to our guests 24/7, 365, and that helps eliminate anybody being locked out or having troubles with the property. Someone's always available to assist. We also employ a contractor team of turnover professionals and inspectors. And it's really important to us that we provide them with a living wage. And so in the last 3 years, we've provided almost 600 hours of gainful employment to our team. We've also made numerous improvements to the property you saw earlier. It used to be known as the Pink House when it was painted pink. It still had a nice shade of blush before we painted it. But we've installed a new HVAC system, a new breaker box, extra insulation. We've put up a fence and invested in professional pest management for rodents and termites. So we're really taking care of this property in addition to painting the outside and helping bring up the property values in our neighborhood. So since 2020, we hosted our first guest in 2021. And we've had 463 guests come through our home, and we've maintained a 4.9% review. That's both on Airbnb and Vrbo. So we're really happy that our guests are having a great time and they're safe while they're here. So oh, go ahead.
Yes, if I may stop you, because we're
Yeah.
really impressed with all of that.
Oh,
And
sure.
We read it as well too.
Yeah.
And you're here for a renewal?
Yes.
Yes, so at this time,
Oh, perfect. I don't have to keep going. Okay, thanks.
yes.
Can I just skip ahead? Last slide. I would love to get a 5-year exemption. We had a 3-year exemption when we first started this business, and 5 years we estimate would help us bring over 800 more travelers to the city, provide over 950 more hours of employment for our team, and give us about 320 more opportunities to recommend our favorite restaurants and other things to do in the city. Thank you.
Okay. Questions, comments from the board?
During the 3 years, have you had any complaints or citations at this property?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Your application shows 3 years. I'm willing to grant another 3 years
Okay.
for renewal, but otherwise, how many cars can fit here? I figure with 4 people, you're probably only looking at 2.
So it's a double driveway, and so
Okay.
we say 4 compact cars, no street parking. We don't allow trailers, RVs, tents, or anything like that
Okay.
on the property either.
Okay.
I don't have anybody signed up to speak on this one. Is there anybody who wants to address the board on this application?
Yeah.
Anything else from the board? I think we're ready for a motion then.
Okay, motion to approve case number 15508 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for the requested special exception under the requested 3 years term.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. You're approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You.
We have item number 8, case number 15510, an application of NZO Properties for a renewal of home sharing, 3705 Northwest 51st Place.
William Perez with the property management team. We're just looking for a renewal for 3 years.
I didn't see a limit on number of cars. It says parking and driveway.
Looks like that can only fit 2 cars, is that correct?
Yeah, it's only 2, yes.
Okay.
Okay, anything else from the board?
I just want to add one thing, because we always ask about parking and how many cars can fit there. So if this is approved and you come back again in how many number of years, please make sure that you put the number of cars that the drive can.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, anybody want to address the board on this one? Okay, nobody signed up to speak.
And during the initial period, no complaints or citations?
Seems pretty good.
Okay, motion to approve case number 15510 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for special exceptions, with the only modification being that we're going to specifically specify 2-car maximum.
I second.
Okay, motion and a second, cast your vote. You're approved.
All right, thank you.
The number of years?
I think it was a 3-year.
Was it a 3 years that was asked?
I know it was discussed.
Was it officially a part of your motion?
Oh,
The
well, then
years.
add to my motion 3-year,
Okay.
Yeah.
3-year maximum.
Everybody,
Yeah,
it's,
because it just stayed last year, so yeah.
I thought I heard 3, so
Okay.
I'm okay.
Is that gentleman still here? Didn't hear?
No, he's gone.
Well, he already won, so we left.
yeah. You got 3 years.
So we have item number 9, case number 15515, as a renewal application of Ladarian Norton for
Hello.
home sharing located at 512 Northwest 138th Street.
Hello, my name is Darian Norton. I'm here on behalf of the Finest Dream Home. The address is 512 Northwest 138th Street, located in Edmond, Oklahoma. Like you guys said, I'm here for renewal. In the last approval I did receive, I have not received any complaints or any citations at all. So I'm just here for renewal.
Any questions or comments from the board? I don't have anybody signed up to speak on this one. Is there anybody who wants to address the board on this application? Okay, if there's nothing else from the board, I think we're ready for a motion.
You're just looking on here, you can accommodate 4 cars. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
so you can park in the back of the house with fit 4 cars,
Okay,
but the whole neighborhood also is parking in front of the house as well.
okay. It looks like for 6 guests, I think 4 cars would be more than sufficient, but I just want to make sure. Okay, motion to approve case number 15515 for the purpose that it meets the statutory requirements for special exceptions with the following modifications. Term shall be 3 years, 4-car maximum, and I did not see any quiet hours, but I will put quiet hours between 10 and 8 a.m.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, so cast your votes. You're approved.
I have one more. I just sit back down.
Yeah, item number
hang
10
on.
is case number 15516, a renewal of Ladarian Norton
That works.
for home sharing at 724 Northwest 139th Street.
My name is Darian Norton. I'm here on Finest Dream Home LLC behalf. The address is 724 Northwest 139th Street, Edmond, Oklahoma. This is a renewal as well. In the past year, I have not received an email or text message about any complaints. I have not had any citations. So I just want to get you guys approval for a renewal.
Okay, questions or comments? Nobody signed up to speak. Is there anybody who wants to address the board on this? Okay, if there's nothing else from the board, I think we're ready for a motion.
All right, just so you know, I'm going to make a motion with the same modifications as the last one. Motion to approve case number 15516 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for a special exception with the following modifications. Shall be a term of 3 years, 4-car maximum quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Thank you.
A second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, so cast your votes. You're approved.
Thank you.
We have item number 11, case number 15507, an application for Christopher Hirsch to allow home sharing located at 3625 Northwest 53rd.
Good afternoon. So seeking special exception for home
Give us
sharing.
your-
Chris Hirsch,
With the-
own 3625 Northwest 53rd Street.
Okay.
So new application. I actually do medium-term to long-term rentals right now. I've been doing that for 2 years. I've had 3 renters since then, had no complaints. I'm actually seeking special exception because there's been a little bit of a lull in the market, and I want to have the opportunity to fill in gaps. So not planning on doing it regularly. In fact, I would rather not do it at all. But hopefully, if I need it, I have that opportunity. I know I put in the application 10 years. I'd like to try to get 3. I know I'm new, but I have a lot of experience doing short-term rentals. I've been doing this 7 years. I have a property in San Diego that I've done it for a long time, and also in Austin, Texas. Treat properties like my own, take really good care of them, and I screen tenants to make sure that they're doing the same. Provide a welcome book that has all the rules around parking, which is 4 cars. They have to park in the garage or in the parking space outside the garage. They're not allowed to park on the street, quiet hours. And then they're required to bring out their own trash. If I do short-term rentals, I'm gonna be getting a property management manager to support. Right now, I have a lot of folks that help me out where I need to, and I'm 5 hours away if I need to come up, and I've been doing that. Appreciate you guys considering this. Thank you.
Any questions, comments from the board?
I do have a quick comment to make, because you said you would like how many years?
I would like to try to get 3 years because I'm going to be doing it so minimally. It's really just to fill in gaps when I don't have a medium-term or long-term renter. So, and I'm happy to come back if I need to and let you guys know how that's going and how many people
Well, it
I've
doesn't
had
work
rented.
like
But
that.
yeah,
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But traditionally, we only do 1 year for
Yep.
your first application for this.
Yep.
However, I just want to let you know that is what we traditionally do.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah, just hoping
And
because.
it's
yeah.
because we want to make sure that the people that live in the houses, the homeowners, don't have any problems.
Yep, completely understand. Yeah, and
Okay.
if that will happen, no problem. But just because I do it so minimally, hoping I can just get a
And
little longer.
because we do this all the time too, I just
Yep.
want to let you know that's
Yeah,
how we
no
roll.
problem. Understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to confirm, you are requesting 5 people for a 3-bedroom?
Yep.
You don't want 6?
No, I don't need it, no.
Okay.
Again, it's just for when I'm gonna fill in, so.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Only comment is I don't see quiet hours listed, so 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. is our standard. So if you could put that, if you do end up listing it on any short term. So the quiet hours, again, reiterating just the 1 year. If you come back in a year and everything looks good, obviously we try to step it up to like a 3-year.
Sounds
depending
good.
on
Really
what we hear.
appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
So, all right, motion to approve case number 15507 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for special exceptions with the following modifications. This shall be for a term of 1 year, and quiet hours shall be from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Thank you.
I Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Nobody signed up to speak. Cast your votes. You're approved.
So we have item number 12, case number 15171 is an application for Clint Newsom on behalf of Left Frame Lofts LLC to allow home sharing located at 631 West California Avenue. And we have several suites, but each have a different case number. So the first one is Suite 200.
Good afternoon. I'm Clint Newsom on behalf of Left Frame Lofts. We are seeking home share application for 6 condos located at 631 West California. We just got their certificate of occupancy in late November. It is 6 individual condos, 2-bed, 2-bath, high-end luxury condos, controlled access throughout the building, and with garage parking.
Anything from the board? Then I have a comment. My concern is this is a 6-unit building, and we've got 4 units today on today's docket.
We got 6, I think.
6, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, counted wrong. That sounds like a hotel, and I got a problem with that many units in a building being Airbnb.
They're individual, so you can see the lot. They're separated from the north to the south on each level. So there's 2 on each level with a central lobby area going up, elevator. So they're almost like a stacked townhome. There's no way around it that you can't hotel it. The fact that they're individually accessible, controlled access through each unit, that's my argument to that. I don't,
All right.
not even feasible to do a hotel.
A question, although it's not defined as a hotel, how is it defined? What type of living space is it?
Condos.
Currently, they're condos,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
They're stacked townhomes. There's only one shared wall, and it's the shower wall in the middle, right where the stair tower is. And they both have their own entrance on each side, so it's,
I know. I think you came before us before.
I did,
Yeah, because I remember this
yeah.
statement that you made. I have a very difficult time with it as well because it does seem more like it's not hotelish, and I know that's not a word, but it definitely seems like you're using it for that purpose instead of for what an Airbnb is used for traditionally.
We have a management company that we've contracted with that does this all over the nation in multi-unit condos. And the whole idea is to bring a partnership and accommodation to the entertainment district down there for families. We have a lot of rules in place. We have an HOA set up. We have all the management company has all their rules, quiet hours, no pets, no smoking, got to be 25 and older to rent. We also have controlled access with the thermometers. So it's a lot of technology to create an individual experience for each condo, not a
I hear you,
lobby.
but I'm struggling with it, seriously, given the fact that it's not a duplex where there are only 2 units that we're talking about. You're asking us for 4 units, but you have a total of 6 units, which you may come back for those, which means that'll be 6 total.
I've got
And
6.
it's-
There are
you're asking
6.
for all 6 of them
Yeah.
today?
I counted
Oh,
wrong,
I
I'm
got
sorry.
it. Okay.
It's 6.
Okay, and I did too. I have a problem with it. I'm just
Well,
gonna leave it like that. I have a problem with it.
Do you have a solution? Because it can't be a hotel.
I do have a solution, but you may not like it, but since you asked me, yes. If you would ask for maybe 2 of them, and 3 maximum for me, but not all 6 of them. And that's me. Someone else may feel differently. You can ask them their opinion.
Can I ask what the difference is between 3 versus 6?
Yes, you may. It's basically because when you go beyond what most houses are, like a duplex or even those that have 4 or 6 in them, it's greater than. 6 is greater than 4 and 2. And I don't know any places where it's more than 6 that's not defined as a hotel or some other type of living place. So that's why it's difficult for me.
I got you. I mean, so in my mind, just for clarification, is if you have a row of 6 townhomes, would that be any different?
6 is 6. So again, I said less than.
But I mean,
Clint, are you doing anything else with these properties? Are you trying to sell them?
We're trying to sell them,
Are
yeah.
you
Yeah.
long-term leasing them possibly too, or?
Right now, no. We're just trying to sell them, and we're trying to Airbnb them for the immediate.
So your end goal is to sell them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
They're-
I didn't hear you say that.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No, it's
I
okay.
needed to specify that. Yeah, the goal is to sell them. We've been working on this project for 5 years, and it's been one hurdle after another, and so it's 5 years of interest, 5 years of the whole process, and so we're trying to cash flow them while we're trying to sell them. So that's the whole point of the short-term goal. They're listed right now for sale.
I think when we met, if this is the same unit, did we not ask what is considered a hotel within the city? I mean, would this be considered under the city where they would have to pay hotel taxes and such things?
They do already, I think.
So we have each condo has its own address, its own suite, so we pay property taxes on each individual condo. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but.
And I believe when you rent them through VRBO or Airbnb, you do have to pay tax.
Per unit.
Per unit.
Yeah.
Just like a hotel.
Right.
And I think this case preceded my time here on the board, so I'm not sure what the concern was. I personally don't have a problem with it, but I want to make sure that I'm not missing something. I'm very much open to additional instruction that I may have missed out on when this previously came before the board on considerations.
I think the biggest concern was I tried to jump the gun and get approval before we had the CO. I didn't know,
Yes.
I was trying to get it in place so whenever we got the CO, we could start Airbnb immediately, and that was the big hang up. And so we just got the CO in late November.
And you're right, that's exactly what the major holdup was the first time.
Yeah.
But you've relieved some of my pushback on it by stating that your long-term is to sell the property. And because normally when you come as a new applicant, we do look at the possibility of approving for 1 year. So I don't have a problem with it at this point right now, knowing that the end game is to sell it. And if you are approved, then you would have to come back for renewal. So thank you very much for explaining that to
Yeah.
me.
Thanks for allowing me the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Nobody signed up to speak on this one. Does anybody want to address the board? Okay. I appreciate you telling us that they're for sale. That makes a difference. Okay.
Thanks for bringing that up.
I think we're ready for a motion.
I personally, I still can't get on board. I still feel, and you can tell me all day long that you plan to sell it. That may be the case. There's no guarantee.
They are listed right now. I mean, they're for sale.
It almost feels like, and I felt like this the very first time that we met, that they were built. Airbnbs are very, have a high return. I mean, there's a reason why people do it, and will take, 50% of a month that they're not occupied because the other 50% they do. And I just feel like, even though that they may be for sale, I can't get on board actually approving this one. So you're gonna, if there's one of the other members that can.
Board members, if it would be helpful to you, there's a code definition for hotel.
Okay.
and it is a building or group of buildings under single ownership containing 10 or more sleeping rooms intended to be occupied as temporary lodging for compensation with or without meals, and that's in Chapter 59, the Planning Code. So
So we have a building under single ownership right now with 12 sleeping rooms total.
So let me ask you a quick question, because you said those are condos, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So are they individually owned, or is there one person that owned all of them within the building?
Right now, it's under one ownership group.
So the building is under one ownership?
The building is, and that's, so each condo has its own address, each condo has its own identity. So when they are sold, it's set up in the HOA that they can be separated out. Even the commercial space on the front of the building is separated out.
So how would that, how
Can
would that
you-
affect that
Can you read that
language?
again, that definition?
Hotel, a building or group of buildings under single ownership containing 10 or more sleeping rooms intended to be occupied as temporary lodging for compensation with or without meals. And this is Chapter 59 of the Municipal Code. Definitions.
Can I appeal for the 1 year? And if, I mean, we're trying everything we can right now to sell them. And I know I could say that all day, but that's our active strategy. And in the meantime, to supplement our losses for the past 5 years, this is our best means right now. So even if it's just 1 year, that would be terrific.
I understand, but based off of that definition, a single building under one ownership with 10 or more rooms. We have 6 condos with at least 2 bedrooms each, so that makes it a hotel. Again, just going off the cuff here, that's kind of what I'm reading. I can't get on board without further research to see if this is considered a hotel or not.
So to help with that, the possibility would be to offer up 4 of these units and not all 6 of them. And so today we're looking at individuals, so we could approve 4 and defer 2 or however.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of skirting it, but
I have a question. So do we lose some of the authority to grant a special exception if it meets the definition of a hotel, or do we still have the?
You do not. I looked that up because you were describing a hotel, and I wanted you to know what Chapter 59 said about hotels. He's not saying it's a hotel.
Yeah.
So
How would that differ from an apartment complex that's under one ownership?
I want to interject real quickly, because I really have concerns with interpretation, because what I heard was the description of a hotel. However, what I'm hearing from you is a description of condos. So the building itself, what does it say? Does it say, and this is theoretical, does it say Oklahoma Hotel, or does it say
No,
Oklahoma Condos?
It's condos.
And
yes.
I'm not trying to create a problem or anything like that. It's just, you know, interpretation is what our perception is of anything for me. And again, after you explained to me what your goal was, and we asked about the number of rooms, then I hear my colleague down here saying if we can do 4 rooms and separate it so that we can work with you, then I just want to come to some type of agreement between our members up here to see where we need to move forward off of this one.
Well, I think we're probably all over the place, which is rare, but
I know.
I don't see a problem with this.
I don't either.
I'll give you a motion on every one of them as far as I'm concerned. I don't know that they'll vote for it, but unless I'm missing something, council hasn't given me anything to think that this would be improper. We've had applications come with small apartment buildings before, and we've granted them then. I don't see an issue. I'm going to support it.
So would you please make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody want to speak on this one? Nobody signed up. Okay, now we're ready for a motion.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve a special exception for case number 15171 on the basis that it meets the criteria for a special exception.
For 1 year?
for a period of 1 year.
I second.
And the self-imposed rules.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Okay, now cast your votes. Okay, you're approved.
Item number 13, case number 15172, is for a special exception for home sharing at 631 West California Avenue, Suite 210.
Can we just incorporate your prior statements by reference? Okay. Anything from the board on this one? And still, nobody signed up to speak. Ready for a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve case number 15172 on the basis that it meets the criteria for a special exception for a period of 1 year, subject to the self-imposed rules.
I second.
Okay, a motion and a second. And I did hear 1 year, right? Yes. Okay. Gotcha. All right, you're approved.
Item number 14, case number 15173, an application for home sharing at 631 West California Avenue, Suite 300.
Okay, same comments, I assume. Anybody want to address the board on this one? Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve case number 15173 for a special exception on the basis that it meets the criteria for a special exception for a period of 1 year, subject to the self-imposed rules.
I second.
Motion and a second. Now cast your votes. Approved.
Item number 15, case number 15174, application for home sharing located at 631 West California Avenue, Suite 410.
And again, same comments. Questions from the board? Nobody signed up. Does anybody want to address us? We're ready for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve case number 15174 on the basis that it meets the criteria for a special exception for a period of 1 year, subject to the self-imposed rules.
I second.
Motion and a second, so go ahead and cast your votes. You're approved.
Item number 16, case number 15175, an application for home sharing at 631 West California Avenue, Suite 400.
Okay. Same comments. Anything from the board? Anybody want to address us? Now we're ready for a motion again.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve case number 15175 on the basis that it meets the criteria for a special exception for a period of 1 year, subject to the self-imposed rules.
I second.
Motion and a second. Cast your votes. Approved.
Item number 17, case number 15176, an application for home sharing, 631 West California Avenue, Suite 310.
Okay, same thing. Anybody want to address this on this application? Okay, I think we're ready for a motion again.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve case number 15176 on the basis that it meets the criteria for a special exception for a period of 1 year, subject to the self-imposed rules.
I second.
Okay, motion and a second. Cast your votes. And you're approved.
Thank you guys very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
We're on item number 18, case number 15449 is an application of special exception for Lori Arbuckle and Donald Arbuckle Nestled Oaks RV Park to allow lodging accommodation campgrounds in the AA Agricultural District located at 13337 Northeast 150th Street.
Hello, I'm Lori Arbuckle, and I'm here on behalf of Donnie Arbuckle and Nestled Oaks RV Park, and our address is 13337 Northeast 150th Street in Jones, Oklahoma. We're here to request a special exemption on our land for our RV park. It's considered agricultural land right now. That's why we're asking for the special exemption. we were here a couple months ago, do you remember?
Yes, I was getting.
And we had the variance approved for the gravel and some of, and the facilities that, because ours are permanent residents that live there. We have 13 units. And you guys requested then that we file for the special exemption agricultural land.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Did you bring anything back showing where you did those things that we requested?
There wasn't anything requested that I don't believe, just that we get, the variants were approved as long as we got the special exemption.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So what, I think originally we gave them exceptions for the gravel driveway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And,
The bathroom facilities, shower facilities,
oh yeah,
because they
that's
each
right,
have their
the
own
building.
bathroom. Yeah, yeah,
having a building.
yeah.
This time you've come back for exceptions for an AA zone district that you need to have no residents within 300 feet. No, not right,
300 feet of what?
of a residential district.
They're not 300 feet close to us. They're further than that.
Sarah Welch, Planning Department. This is a special exception for a campground, which requires a special exception in the AA district.
Anything from the board?
And so Sarah, does that mean that it has to be 300 foot from a residential district?
What?
It has to have a 50-foot perimeter along the site? Are these, I mean, this is in the application, I just didn't know if these are all the things that it had to meet. Site-proof screening. And then it says compliance to chapter 31 of the municipal code, which I don't even know what that is.
Correct. Okay, so there are 8 conditions for approval, which should be in your staff report. One of them is that in AA, there shall be a landscape, the site should not abut nor be within 300 feet of a residential district other than AA. So if that applies often in rural areas if you're within 300 feet of an RA or RA2 zoned land.
And it says the maximum density shall be 10 recreational vehicles spaces per acre, so that's okay.
Sarah, real quickly, Sarah, has all 8 of those requirements been met?
The one that they don't meet is number 7, which is the recreational vehicle shall be provided with a permanent hard surface pad. But that's also the same condition that the board granted a variance to the last time that they were here.
Okay.
Anything else from the board? And again, nobody signed up to speak. Does anybody want to address us on this application? Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve case number 15449 for the purposes that it meets the statutory requirements for the special exception.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Cast your votes. Okay.
Thank you. Can I say a special thank you to Cynthia, because she's helped us tremendously. I've emailed her several times because I'm really down with stuff, and you've been really helpful, so appreciate it very much.
She's pretty special.
So we have item number 19, case number 15518 is an appeal of Rob Littlefield on behalf of Meadowbrook Acres OKC Neighborhood Association from the decision of an administrative official regarding the interpretation of PUD 1492 Plan Unit Development at 5710 North Classa Boulevard.
Okay. Before we get started, I have a procedural issue, and I think I'd like to address that first. Mr. Box says it's out of time. And we've got a request to dismiss based on out of time. That would be a jurisdictional issue. My preference is we take up jurisdiction first, and we'll hear from you on that, and then, are you Rob? Are you Rob?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we'll hear from you next. Go
David
ahead.
Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the property owner, Washington Prime. I'm going to allow the exhibit booklet to be handed out, and then I'll begin, if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so as the chair indicated, what I have done here is filed a motion to dismiss of sorts based upon a jurisdictional issue of timing of the appeal. I know it's a different type of setting that you guys are here on, although it's been 2 times in a row that I've been here on an appeal at an administrative official, but this one's a little different. This one is, in our opinion, time barred, and the reason I say that is my clients, who have all flown in early this morning from Columbus, Ohio, have been working on this particular building and site since before COVID. So at the time, I was engaged to assist them in walking through putting 2 additional buildings on this site where you see the 2 ponds. After a series of filings and meetings with staff, it was determined that the desired building on the west could not be constructed because of that, you see that notch in the right-of-way along Classen. But there was nothing prohibiting construction of a building on that easternmost pad site. Significant effort went into getting that conclusion reached by Oklahoma City staff. And in the packet, I think it's important that we first look at Exhibit 3. And Exhibit 3 is an email from Susan Randall on March 10th of 2020, where she tells me that I should submit in writing a request to the then Director Bob Tiener for an interpretation as to whether or not PUD 1452 requires an amendment prior to constructing the 2 proposed retail buildings. After that, I submitted said request to Oklahoma City Development Services staff and was emailed back by J.J. Chambliss, who at the time was in the position to respond to such a request, an email that you will find at Exhibit 2A. The email from JJ is March 20th, 2020, and you will see through this 2A where he tells me that the interpretation has been made that in fact the west building would not be allowed unless we shrunk it because of setback issues along Classen. I follow up and say, thank you. To be clear, this means that of the 2 proposed buildings, the eastern building would be legal and the western building, if the setback is not modified, would not, correct? And he responds at 2:11 p.m., correct. Or you could narrow down the west building and build both. And he also, contemporaneously to this, sent an email to Janice Powers, but more importantly to Mr. Littlefield, who is the appellant here today. And the reason it's important is as of March 20th, 2020, 2:37 p.m., they were notified by staff that there is no limit on the number of buildings in the PUD and no clear prohibition of constructing additional buildings in the area providing on-site detention, provided required detention can be redesigned to the satisfaction of the Public Works Department. And then at the end of that email, it even tells them what their steps would be if they felt aggrieved by this decision, and they could file and appeal the issuance of the permit. Why that's important is, subsequent to that, my client has spent somewhere around $1 million on assurances given by staff that they could in fact build this building. We've had multiple in-person meetings where my client has flown down, met face-to-face with members from municipal counselor's office, planning staff, and development services staff. Only after not only we had written assurances, but verbal assurances did we turn loose architects, engineers, and other consultants to spend that $1 million. We then submitted plans to the Public Works Department to satisfy the drainage requirements. Then we put up fences to start building the project that was properly permitted. Only then on December 1st did the appellant re-ask the question and get staff to issue a new opinion that mirrors the opinion issued on March 20th, 2020. Why is all of this important? Well, aside from the $1 million that my client has committed to this, around 1,400 days have gone by since we were issued the opinion. The municipal code deals with timing of filing said appeals. It's a jurisdictional issue. It's a 30-day window. March 20, 2020, they had 10 days in which to appeal. We are now standing here in January of 2024, some 1,400 days later. We must be allowed to proceed in a manner that is consistent with what staff told us, but more importantly, staff told the appellant via email on March 20th, 2020, which again is Exhibit 4 in what I've handed you. So our position is you lack jurisdiction to hear this. Their time window closed on March 30th of 2020. Happy to answer any questions as it relates to the jurisdictional issue.
Questions, comments from the board? Okay. Mr. Littlefield? And limit your remarks to the timeliness and the jurisdictional issue.
Specifically, yes, sir.
Please.
My name is Rob Littlefield, president and founder of Meadowbrook Acres Neighborhood Association, 1148 Northwest 56th Street. Besides myself, present today, most all of the people in the back of the chambers are members of this neighborhood association, very active in it. My comment today is a very, very simple one, and my request is a very, very simple one. This motion and to dismiss our case was something that we learned just the afternoon before yesterday. It was only included in the packet information. We were never delivered anything by mail. We were never delivered anything by email. We were never delivered anything in any way, shape, or form that gave us an opportunity to review this motion. And our stance is that we have a reasonable right to enough time to submit a written response to this motion. And we are asking for a 30-day request to do that, a continuance.
Okay, hang on. Do we have questions or comments from the board? Okay.
May I briefly,
Mr. Box,
Mr.
your
Chair?
turn.
Yeah, so we submitted this within the time frame required to be included in the packet in the same manner as all other filings. They were uploaded onto PrimeGov, were available to the public to be pulled last Friday afternoon. This is the way in which I have to deal with cases every other Thursday. I go and pull all the relevant information off of PrimeGov. That's where it is. My guess is that Cindy or someone at staff sent a link to Mr. Littlefield as the applicant in this application. The link would have taken him to PrimeGov. PrimeGov would have had all documents, including the motion that I'm here on. So it was submitted in the normal course. It was uploaded to PrimeGov, publicly disseminated, available to be downloaded.
I stand by my statement. I believe that we have an absolute right to respond to this motion in writing. And given that, that is impossible to accomplish in a day and a half.
Can you clarify, what is your intention in the response to the motion? Do you have something that you think is a valid response that would challenge the timelines that it specifies that the appeal should have been made?
Not only do we have information that we can put together about timeline, we also have a series of emails that I'm certain of that's dialogue that would be very beneficial to our appeal to this motion. And this is something that our group cannot possibly put together and present in writing fairly while I stand here. We need some time to do this.
Yeah.
And I'll also add that I believe that the motion to dismiss our case deserves that time and attention because it's not dialogue that addresses our appeal, which we believe we stand ground on. So we are asking for a 30-day continuance on this matter.
So no one had requested a continuance until this moment. My clients woke up at 3 a.m. this morning in Columbus, Ohio, flew down here, have sat in these, chambers all afternoon to be heard on this. I don't know what could possibly change the jurisdictional element of it. When you read that March 20th email, again, that is to Janice Powers with a CC to Rob Littlefield. So we would ask the jurisdictional issue be heard.
Questions?
Respectfully,
Go ahead.
I apologize for the gentleman having to get up so early in the morning and work so hard on this. This neighborhood has been working on this since 2012. We don't have a staff of lawyers. We don't have a staff of municipal employees to help us with. We have jobs, we have families, we've got children. We've been working very, very hard on our appeal, and this news that we learned just the day before yesterday puts us in a stance where we are requesting a 30-day continuance where we can submit in writing our response to this motion.
Thoughts from the board? I've got dueling motions, dueling requests. One to dismiss, one for continuance to respond.
Would you like to hear from our office?
Yeah. But
We have
David or Rob, either one of you have anything else? Because I do want to hear from staff.
Other than our steadfast request for a 30-day continuance, I have nothing else to offer at this time.
Okay?
No, like I said, we stand by it. We think from a
Okay.
legal standpoint, it is crystal clear that the opinion of staff as to the building and the drainage area was made March 20, 2020. We submitted our documents. We comply with all municipal ordinances. They were available via the link that was sent to Mr. Littlefield last Friday.
Okay?
And I believe we have a right to respond to that motion in writing.
Okay. Let me hear from who volunteers to speak.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you. Stephen Barker, Municipal Counselor's Office. Just to briefly weigh in on the procedural question here. So my background on this is we assisted Mr. Butler, wrote a memo on this. As far as the 30-day window having been closed back in 2020, so I don't dispute Mr. Box's contention on his handout, the email from Susan Randall. That is the procedure. There is obviously in our bylaws and ordinances a 30-day window to file the appeal. The problem becomes in that email, I don't believe the city in 2020, the Mr. Chambliss email, was very clear at all on affording the receivers of that communication of their rights to appeal to this body. So while it did mention a 30-day appeal window, it was specifically addressing the building permit applications that they could appeal, not the interpretation Mr. Chambliss was sending to them. They never had notice of that. Now, recently, albeit a couple years, but recently, there's been similar cases here at this Board of Adjustment where our office actually was on the other side of this issue, suggesting that the appellants were out of time. It gets appealed to district court. Mr. Box actually had the other side of that as well, and he won, arguing what we're arguing today, which is the city has a duty to put the person whose appeal rights, the clock being started effectively, on notice. You have 30 days. So Mr. Butler's email to Mr. Littlefield attaching our memo this time around, triggering this appeal, did clearly state, if you disagree with my opinion or interpretation, you can appeal to the Board of Adjustment in, a 30-day time period. Mr. Chambliss's email in 2020 doesn't do the same thing. It does allude to an appeal on the building permits. It doesn't do that for his interpretation of, frankly, again, the same issues. It does, Mr. Box is correct. We're talking about the same thing. We're talking about more buildings. We're talking about the same property. The problem is the city did not alert them to those appeal rights, and it's a due process problem. So my opinion would be just simple fairness would dictate there's nothing wrong with giving them the opportunity to respond in writing. The bylaws don't have some sort of procedural code for purposes of Board of Adjustment hearings. I think if you were so inclined to continue the matter and allow for that to happen, I think you're well within your bounds. Now, that being said, of course, if you've made up your mind, I suppose you're entitled to do that as well, but that would be our position.
Okay,
Could I respond?
go ahead. Go ahead.
So the case that he's referring to was a case in which the question was the issuance of a building permit. And we had a building permit that we had applied for that sat in the portal as not being approved or denied. We forced the issue and said, we need a formal denial of the permit in order to appeal. The board disagreed, we filed a lawsuit, and we're right on the issue because there had never been a formal decision on the permit. It sat unanswered in the portal. This is wholly different. The two issues that you're being asked to address are the very two issues that Mr. Littlefield was apprised of on March 20th, 2020. I think it's an unfair statement that because he didn't use the exact wording when he notified them of appeal rights as it related to the building permit, he didn't specifically say on this decision that my clients are left holding the bag potentially with $1 million worth of soft costs based upon verbal and written assurances. That is my client's significant problem with this.
Okay. Anything from the board?
Yes, for me, please. So on that date you're talking about, March 20th, 2020, was Mr. Littlefield also CC'd on that email?
Yeah, if you turn to tab 4,
Tab 4.
the email is from J.J. Chambliss, and it's to Janice Powers with a CC to Rob Littlefield. He's the first name that appears on the CC line,
Okay,
as well as the city attorney's office. Assistant city manager, and Mr. Butler, and Mr. Tiener, who's the former director of development services.
So I'm scanning through it real quickly, and I don't see you have 30 days from this date to appeal or make a statement.
There's nothing in the ordinance that says the staff has to tell you you have 30 days in which to appeal. I mean, the decision was made. They were aware of the decision. What JJ tells him in this March 20th email is that should the developer choose to move forward with construction and or building meeting the setback, any aggrieved party could appeal the issuance of a building permit to the Board of Adjustment.
And again, it's very vague because it doesn't give you a time frame. However, I heard you mention that there is a 30-day appeal rights that you have, that a person has. Is that correct?
Yes. On an administrative decision, they can appeal to the Board of Adjustment.
Okay,
Right.
thank you for that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And that's based on ordinance. The ordinance gives you 30 days.
Sure.
Thank you.
But again, just for what it's worth, I mean, this vital case I'm relying on, this is out of Mr. Box's response at the district court level. This is a quote: "If the city believes it is rendering a decision that will not only trigger certain appeal deadlines, but also effectively prohibit future, in this case, permit applications, but here it would be administrative decisions, from being considered, the city must be required to follow a protocol that provides adequate notice and the effect of such decision to applicants." Again, I think what Mr. Box's words there are honing in on is a simple fairness in the notice. Hey, you've got 30 days, this is affecting you, clock's running. And I don't think our 2020 email did that adequately.
It doesn't list a date for me. And according to protocol is that for me.
So again, they're different. That was a permit, and I think it's absolutely inequitable that my client, who's a sophisticated developer, is just left holding the bag with $1 million for the soft costs because 1,400 days ago, slightly wrong wording was put in. I mean, that's not how the real world works. You get permits based upon compliance with city regs, and then are told, well, let's ask the question differently, maybe get a new email. And the real problem is when the appeal gets filed, the reason timing's so important here is everything is stayed. So even though we have a permit from the city to go deal with our detention, when Mr. Littlefield files the permit, it stays, meaning we can't move forward and we're left just holding our carry costs while this process plays itself out, which we think should have played itself out in 2020 prior to all those costs being expended.
What was the actual date the permit was issued?
Within the last several months. Well, the permit was issued, the civil permit to do the underground detention was issued in the last several months.
So Public Works signed off on it?
Yes, we submitted, and we've got engineers from Wallace in the building today. We submitted the detailed engineering plan showing how we're going to meet the drainage ordinance. They approved it.
And correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but if JJ had not given that approval in his email, then Public Works would not have signed off on this? Is any part of the Public Works review for this project tethered to the decision that JJ Chambliss rendered?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
The reason that I'm asking, and Council, this is a question, that I'm kind of stuck on two things. One is, the first is really simple. Does the code require notice, or does the code require parties at large to be noticed about a decision being made? And particularly, does it identify which parties have to receive notice? Mr. Littlefield received notice. Whether or not he received notice in this email wouldn't apply to somebody just in the community that doesn't know. So does that person lose their ability to file an appeal here?
Excuse me, I will let my colleagues respond to this when they're available, because they are handling this matter as a separate part of
I guess to follow up and just kind of add a little more to Marcus's question, because that's kind of what I was saying here. Does Mr. Littlefield, on behalf of the association, is he entitled to receive notice on behalf? Because I'm looking at this March 20th email. There's 7 people, but there's a lot more than 7 people out here.
What exhibit number is that one?
Exhibit 5. And there's 7 people. So does a property owner individually have a right to receive notice of that determination in addition to the association?
The end of
4,
right,
yes.
4 or 5. Mr. Barker, did you hear that question about?
Is the question effectively, does the code require notice be given to certain people on?
So
Go ahead.
I don't want to complicate it. The first part of it is I want to know if there's a requirement to inform any party of the right that they have to appeal. If the city fails to inform a citizen that they have the right to appeal a decision, an administrative decision, does that somehow keep the clock from ever starting to tick on an appeal being filed?
Well, so again, I think this is where Mr. Box and I would differ. In my opinion, based on what the district court gave us in their order on the appeal from the Board of Adjustment a couple of years ago, just simple due process would require some sort of notice that, hey, you've got appeal rights. Now, does the code have some sort of notice provision that we have to do that? No, it just simply says you have 30 days to appeal an administrative decision. It doesn't require the city to send out notice to anybody that may or may not be affected, anything like that. But just the simple nature of let's give somebody notice that they're affected would require we give somebody a heads up of what the decision is and what their appeal rights are.
Okay.
I know that's kind of talking both sides there. But.
Yeah, I was a little confused on that. And the second part to what I was trying to get at is I've traditionally looked at these as dealing with constructive notice, being a permit being issued, a set of plans being accepted. What's the city's position as far as when the decision would have been made? Whether or not it was clear in what JJ's response was, but is a building permit being issued considered constructive notice? And if so, does that carry over to Public Works signing off on a set of civil plans? Is that considered notice?
Well, I'm not following. We're here on just the administrative decision. I'm not following the building permit issue.
Well, I'm saying there has to be some point, there has to be some threshold or some point that you cross where you say a decision was made. So if it's your position that this was vague, the email was vague, there was no decision that was rendered right then, which would effectively say the clock never started ticking then. At what point in that process would the clock start? At what would be the decision-making critical moment?
So maybe I'm picking it up here. It would be both. So for instance, the building permit stage, when that permit's issued, that's when a 30-day window would start. You can appeal that issuance of the permit, right? It gets issued that day, you got 30 days to appeal it. Now, does the city have some sort of notice requirement to tell everybody in the world a permit's been issued? I don't think so. I guess if you were really into it, you could follow along and keep up. But as far as the administrative decision, again, I'm just going off of the ideas of basic fairness and just kind of substantive due process, which would frankly just tells me we need to be a little more forthright with, we're giving this decision, and oh, by the way, we're starting the clock now. And I don't think we did that in 2020.
I get that, and I agree with you, but I'm trying to balance that with the fact that on the other side, you've got a party that has invested funds and from what I can tell, has done everything proper. But if a decision was made, whether it was a decision in an email or the decision to issue a permit, unless I'm misunderstanding something, I would say that that's when the clock would have started for the appeal.
Yeah, so
September 1st is when the work order was issued on the drainage piece.
Oh, would you come to the mic, please?
sorry.
To answer your specific question, Mr. Lodge with Public Works, September 1st of 2023 is when the work order was issued for the drainage piece of this. Again, an appeal could have been filed on that and wasn't as well.
Was there a notice sent out on September, on that date in September?
No.
Well, that would have been the notice, essentially.
Yeah.
So what we're saying that the general public would have had access to say that a permit has been issued or a set of civil plans have been reviewed, which would have been the time to respond. So,
Because of course, a city our size can't be in the business of issuing notice every time a building permit gets issued.
But you had some activity that took place between 2020 to 2023, and the people who are here today that was not aware of that didn't have the opportunity to even try to come forth today with an appeal because they didn't even know that took place in September of 2023.
Well, they weren't entitled to. And
Does it state that somewhere?
absolutely. Nowhere in the code is notice required to be given of building permits. Now, they're publicly available on the portal, but they did have notice of the decision.
In 2020.
In 2020.
Yes, in 2020 they did. However, and I'm not an attorney either, but I'm still hearing that the city itself doesn't have a procedure of notifying people when they want to appeal something. So at that point, and I know it's a shrug your shoulder like thing, but at that point, where does his rights come in? And you guys have rights as well too, because as Counselor stated, you've already exhausted 1,400 days since it started, but at what point do the 30 days come in play?
Yeah, so I guess, I think maybe I've been missing the point of that. That sounds like maybe what you've been getting
Yeah,
at. So I would say
that's what I was thinking too.
Mr. Butler's email this time around, so I believe it's November 28th, 2023, or maybe it's December 1, either one, but that kicked off this pending appeal, that would have been the time that the clock started, and then Mr. Littlefield filed a timely appeal.
okay, can you clarify that again? Say that again?
So when Mr. Butler issued his opinion concerning the substantive issues, that's when that was the administrative interpretation. His email also highlighted the fact that there's a 30-day appeal time frame to the Board of Adjustment. If you still disagree and want to, fight about it, that kicked off that 30-day clock.
So what happens when a neighbor who wasn't a part of the December 1st email and isn't here today and isn't friends with the rest of the neighborhood finds out, 6 months from now when my client's $2 million into it and says, well, I didn't have notice of the December 1st email. I also want to file an appeal and stay everything. Like perhaps the city council needs to enact an ordinance as to how to issue these and issue notice, but my client followed all the steps to a T as prescribed in the ordinance and is now being harmed financially to a significant degree.
Which is the heart of what I was trying to get at initially. I'm simply stating that the starting line has to be the same for both parties. Yes. So if a decision is, because on one side, if you say, I've issued a decision, be that a permit or be that an email, it tells one party, I've got 30 days to appeal this decision. But what it tells the other party on the flip side of that same coin is, I can go ahead and begin investing funds in this. And so if the city is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but it doesn't sound like we have a clear date on when the decision was made, because on the advice of the email, on the advice of JJ's email, the owner went and made some investments. And so I completely understand if the city says, well, no, that wasn't our position. That's not what we told them. They misinterpreted. And so other than that, I guess I'm a little lost on where there'd be another timeline.
You might choose to consider page 2 of the staff report for this item.
Mr. Uday, I think you've drilled down on the point, and I think it's worth looking at the memo that the city attorney's office did. On the first page, there's one footnote, and the footnote says, in fact, Development Services staff confirmed via email to protestants on March 20, 2020, that the number of buildings was not limited in the PUD. I mean, the city attorney's office itself is telling you in their memo that they were notified in March of 2020 that their interpretation of the PUD was incorrect.
I feel like we're arguing the merits on the motion to dismiss.
Correct.
Going back to Mr. Littlefield's request for a continuance, I feel like we need to make a determination as to whether or not we're going to grant that or not. And then if so, we can argue the merits themselves. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we have people that come down from Ohio, and I completely understand that as an attorney myself. When I ask a client to fly in, there's a lot of money invested. At the same time, we're looking at 30-day continuous requests versus 1,400 days. I'm not sure where we go from here, but I would like to hear, for me personally, if we don't have set procedures by which you have a certain time frame to put all of your information in, and if you do, it's considered public notice to the other side, to the Littlefield and to the association, and have an appropriate response within a certain time frame. I don't feel like it's not like the judicial process where you've got certain deadlines. I don't feel like we work under the same kind of guidelines and deadlines. And even in this forum, we have heard and considered information from people from home associations that have said, hey, here's some more evidence as to this particular home sharing applicant. So I want to first determine whether or not we're going to allow the deference, and if not, let's continue to argue the merits of the motion. That's kind of where I feel like.
When's our next meeting?
February 1st, and then February 15th.
So the memo that you have, the page 2 of the staff report for this item, gives you 2 separate dates that you might want to review as you determine what position to take, as well as staff's comment below the email.
I can't make a motion, but I don't think we're mandated to give time to respond. I think we have discretion. And in deference to your concerns, my personal, I'm addressing the request for a continuance. 30 days, I think you can get this done in 2 weeks so that we can move this along, because jurisdiction is my hang-up right now. We can get to the merits of the case later, but motion to dismiss and a request for a continuance to respond, I don't have a problem with a short continuance.
I appreciate that.
I can't make a motion, and I've lost 4-1 many times.
May I add something regarding the condition of the length of the continuance that we're requesting? During this process, as early as, I believe, October I'd have to check my records, but it was either the last week of October or the first week of November. The neighborhood reached out to Washington Prime and invited them to come to the table and visit with us on this activity. And we received absolutely no response whatsoever. About maybe 2 months later, I'd have to check my records, I received a phone call from the local manager of the Washington Prime Properties in Oklahoma City, and he was asking me if I had ever heard anything from my outreach, as he had forwarded our outreach to the Washington Prime folks in Ohio, and of course my response was I had not. And I responded back to him via email reiterating, we are more than willing to meet and visit with you and understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish and do. And we did not receive anything. So it's unfortunate that this is costly to these folks, but we have done our best to minimize that for them. The maximum amount of time that we could be afforded to put together our documents and our written response to this motion will be very much appreciated based on that.
Okay. I guess what's the deadline in order for it to be included in the packet?
It's here. Look at the left column for the date that you have to submit it, and then the meeting date.
That's the filing deadline. I'm just trying to submit information.
Friday by noon is what we asked for.
Friday by noon of the week before. So conceivably, if we were to set it at February 1st, then we're looking at next Friday. So they would have a week to retain counsel and put together an argument.
Not that my schedule matters to anyone sitting on the horseshoe, but I can't be here until March 7th. And so the issue is that not only are we delayed, but everything is stayed. And so we can't move forward because it's stayed upon the filing of this. And again, they could have had the document last Friday. I often receive protest letters the day of a hearing and somehow find a way to deal with it. The zoning practice just requires you to be able to do that. So our strong preference is that you dismiss it, but I can't be here again until March 7th, as much as that may sadden everyone up here.
I appreciate his remarks about he receives documents and he can deal with it in one day. We're not a law firm, we're a neighborhood. We are a group of citizens that live in a neighborhood that is 50% wrapped around by our commercial neighbor at the Classic Curve, and our goal is to accomplish a neighborly relationship going both ways there. We don't have the means that Mr. Box has to deal with motions and legal documents the morning of and be able to present them in a understandable manner to a board such as yours with that kind of expediency. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready for a motion. Let's take up the request for a continuance first.
Do we have a date?
Mr. Box can't be here until March 7, he just stated.
Right.
So is
Okay.
that our date?
I mean, it sounds to me like we're willing to have a date before, but I think Mr. Box would want to be here to argue on behalf of his clients.
Most definitely. I think he does. That's why he made us.
You know what? I mean, so my clients can't wait. If you're really inclined to want to defer it to March 7th, the amount of money we're losing on a daily basis is too much. If you just want to deny my motion to dismiss and hear the merits, that's fine. But we've got to have resolution today.
All right. Let's take a motion from the board first on the request for a continuance. Then we'll get to dismiss, depending. Or do you want to do it different?
I think
I thought, I just heard him say his clients cannot wait or do not want to wait. So why
But
would
I think we still have to make a motion, or
But I just heard two things. Are we going to do for an extension, or are we going to do?
it's almost as, I mean, but from what I'm hearing is the motion to dismiss request is withdrawn.
No.
no?
Is that-
It was two things.
No, I didn't hear that unless I missed it.
We're not withdrawing it. We'd ask you to vote on the motion to dismiss, and if it fails, we want to hear the merits.
Okay.
We can't wait because of contractual obligations and financial outlays we've already made until March 7th to get resolution.
That's what I heard.
So you want to hear it on the merits today? Is that what
But
you're?
what I'm saying is I want it dismissed because it's clear
Yes, right,
that
but
it
if that doesn't happen.
in the alternative, if
Okay,
they disagree with me, then we want to hear the merits.
today? Okay.
Okay, what do you want to take up first?
If we make a motion to defer, because obviously,
That's not what they're asking us for.
right, but I think,
The applicant is.
so do you want us to, I'm just confused.
Do we have to do, yeah, we do. So we'd have to make a motion on the deferral.
So your agenda says that there is an appeal.
Yes.
So what you would do today is hear the appeal or not hear the appeal.
Yes.
So if you hear the appeal, as far as this body is concerned, the matter is done.
Okay. The
If you
question of the
don't-
jurisdiction is gone now?
Well,
No.
that's the appeal. The appeal
Yeah,
is saying,
Isn't,
it's an administrative official regarding interpretation of all of this. You have in your packet all of the information that staff has provided. As I mentioned, page 2 of the staff report. You also have what the appellant has mentioned to you. And so your choice is to decide whether or not to hear the appeal today or to decide if you want to hear it another day. And if you decide to hear it another day, what day? And you've heard from the counsel for the owners of the PUD that he is not available until March the 7th. So those are all things that you have to consider.
To make this more confusing, because it's not confusing enough, is there, is there no right that either party would have, either the appellant or the party that's responding, to choose to have the case heard today?
A right to have it heard?
Yeah, like we have complete discretion over whether or not to continue?
You do. You have heard from the appellant, the appealing party, that he would like to have it heard. If you suggest that you'd like to hear it at a different time, then you're certainly within your right to do that. You're not obligated to hear it today, but you might want to hear from the appealing party to see.
so did we hear from the appealing party that they wanted to hear it heard today or deferred? Because I heard him say he
He's
wanted
still
it
here,
deferred.
so
The
let's.
appealing party wants to continue.
Yeah, I think he said that he wants to continue it because he wants additional time to prepare. But he's
He
here.
wants to file a
so-
written response.
So let's hear from him. He's here, so let's see what he has to say.
Mr. Little.
I'm the appealing party,
Mhm.
and what is the question, please?
Do you want this heard today, or do you want additional time to present information to the Board of Adjustment?
We are prepared to put forward our appeal of the decision by Mr. Butler and staff today.
Okay.
If the motion to dismiss the case is dismissed, if it's not dismissed, we wish to have a 30-day continuance where we can respond in writing to the motion to dismiss our appeal.
Okay.
And before you sit down, so for me, just for me personally, I can't even consider continuing based on that unless there is something, I need to know what the plan looks like for you all. I haven't heard it, or either I've missed it if it's been put forth on how you plan to challenge the issue of venue.
The issue of the motion?
Yes.
We have an inventory of emails that took place at that time that is dialogue between myself and Mr. Box and others in city staff and responses to those emails that aren't included in what he presented.
Yeah, I understand that.
That we would like to
But
present.
they're challenging the timeliness of the appeal. And so I'm more inclined to grant a continuance if you say you have evidence that that's not when the clock
Well,
started.
I'll be point blank then. I think this will be very helpful. In 2020, the question had nothing to do with buildings. The question was solely and only about a setback variance request, period. And we requested meetings with Mr. Box. We had a meeting set up with Mr. Box that he agreed to come to. And then the day before, there was a reminder. And the response was, yes, sir, I'll be there. And then there's another email the next day that his client is going to hold off on this. And they're not going to do it. So our question was never about buildings. Our question was about a setback variance. We can prove that case very, very clearly with some time to put our emails together, our dates together, and the content that was discussed in those emails together. Unlike Mr. Box, I don't have, and these folks behind me do not have the means to do this in a day and a half.
My problem is procedural. I've got a motion to dismiss, and if that's voted on and granted, we're done.
Yeah.
Except for district court. And in the meantime, today, you've asked for an extension to get a written response. And the written response, if it goes that way, that you get would be limited solely to the motion to dismiss. We're not yet up to hearing the merits of the appeal. So that's what I want to deal with. Request for a continuance, and I understand you object.
And just so the record's clear, though, he said that in 2020, we were never discussing buildings. Exhibit 4, to Janice, to Rob, it says there's no specific limit on the number of buildings. So absolutely, in 2020, the number of buildings was at issue. So that was the question, the number of buildings. As it relates to yes, Mr. Chairman, I agree. If this is deferred, which again, we ask that you not defer it.
I understand.
Because they can't be allotted more time to strengthen their appeal. They should have adequately presented their appeal upon filing.
Mr. Box is asking me to engage in a debate over his motion by that comment. And we wish to respond to his motion in writing.
So I completely understand the sentiments. I'm not an attorney, so if anything, it resonates with me, the idea of, not understanding processes well enough or not being as equipped as somebody who is, litigious in their daily lives and just doing things. However, like our chairman just said, I just want to make sure that everything is done proper and appropriately. And what I see in front of me, it looks like that there was not a timely appeal filed. It looks like that the motion makes sense. I've weighed in, I've asked questions with the city as far as what they've provided. I understand that you would like more time. Personally, as an individual, I think you should have more time. Like, communities are not naturally set up to be able to respond to these types of things. However, I think that decision is already been made at a level outside of this board because there are already timelines prescribed. There's a timeline from when documentation can be submitted, and unless somebody says that that process wasn't followed, I don't think that I can't in good conscience say everything was done proper, but I'm going to throw that out. So I'm going to make a motion that we dismiss the appeal of case number 15518.
Can we amend that to deny the request for a continuance, so we cover both issues at
And to
once?
deny the request for a continuance.
Okay, so your motion is deny the request for continuance and sustain the appeal, sustain the motion to dismiss because the appeal is out of time.
Correct.
Okay, somebody write that down.
Real quick, at what point Could the association have pulled a file that Mr. Box uploaded that made it into the report?
Mr. Box submitted the file on Friday via email.
Appropriately?
Yes.
Timely? Okay.
Now, Friday was our packet day, and we submitted our packet. We were working on it. Monday was a holiday, so we weren't here Monday. We were here on Tuesday. And normally on Tuesday, we send out our little checklist on your applicant request. The agenda and staff reports can be found at the following link. And, but he could have looked at it Friday night. We were here pretty late, maybe 6 o'clock maybe, but it was published online.
That as of Friday night, it was public online, and he could have accessed it at that point.
And typically on Monday, we send out just a generic link to all of our applicants. But Monday was a holiday, so we weren't here till Tuesday.
We received the packet.
Nope, hang on. We got a motion. I'm waiting
I'm
for a
sorry.
second.
Forgive me, I'm sorry.
Second the motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second to deny the request for a continuance and grant the motion to dismiss based on the appeal was filed out of time. Did I say that right?
That's what the movement said.
Okay, I'm good then. Motion and a second. Cast your votes. Okay. Got it. Okay. The next one was deferred. I don't have any additional items. Does anybody else? Board committees, none. Anybody want to say anything? Rita?
Nope.
Okay. We're adjourned.